Dreyer, CEO of Connections Academy.
I feel a little guilty then that I'm not showing up with bandages and appropriate. Unfortunately, all of that is true, which does make me wonder where all the sources of some of this information. So I will be talking to some of my team members a little bit later. The problem with any of these awards, I feel, is that they tend to have one name on them. And in the case of Connections, in the case of the entire movement, it's always about the community and the whole group. So I just want to acknowledge all of the people who have been huge inspirations to me and also huge inspirations to the creation of Connections, obviously starting first and foremost with Jeannie, but also acknowledging John Hage at Charter Schools USA and Mike Connolly at Mosaic and Chris Whittle at Addison and J.C. Huizenga at National Heritage, because all of them were huge inspirations to all of us at Connections for the work that they had done, and we learned so much from them. And one of the big parts of who Jeannie is and all of these people is it gets down to kids. And so I have to share a kid's story with you because that's always what keeps, I think, so many of us working through the day-to-day challenges and the resistances and all of the things that make you just want to not get out of bed in the morning. So I had occasion to meet with one of the charter school board members that we work with in the country, and she was telling me the story about her son who is autistic. And you know, there's a lot of discussion now. A new book is out on autism that's really interesting that talks about some of the huge gifts that come along with many of those students' challenges and how our thinking about how to kind of what's wrong with kids and how do we fix it sometimes loses this emphasis on what's right about them and how do we continue to improve on that. So this young boy spent most of his time in a traditional environment being told how bad he was because he acted out. First of all, he finished his work early because he's actually really bright. And so all of the other kids are still working. He's done. Well, what does he do? He starts to talk to everybody and look around and do all the things that are very difficult for a teacher to deal with. And yet, he was not trying to be bad. He simply didn't have anything else to do. He was so often in the principal's office that he began to come home and say, "Mommy, why am I so bad?" And so it was all about the negative. And now all of a sudden that little boy is working 2 grade levels ahead. He also now has discovered a great love of birds and is working with a bird rescue organization where he can name every single bird because that's one of the other sides of his brain that's so strong. So all of us, I know, have those stories that we live with all of the time, but it's what, you know, when I was watching the film about Jeannie there, did you see the look on her face every time she was with a group of kids? You know, the joy that came into her was just tangible to everyone. And I think that is so a part of what defines all of you in this room is you know exactly who you're here for, and you can do well by doing good. And thank you to all of my colleagues at Connections. Thank you so much to all of you who are here who have helped and mentored me. And I really, really appreciate it. And obviously, I am battling cancer. I do appreciate any of the thoughts and prayers you want to send my way as well, because all of that helps. But most importantly, thank you so much for this recognition.